thought they'll be good this year. Because, Michael Jordan is still Michael Jordan, and Andrew Luck's still Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's going to be good. He is not going to be great this year. Shopper Assurance. Hyundai's got a new Shopper Assurance program. Streamlined purchasing, transparent pricing, flexible test driving, so much more. HyundaiUSA.com/Shopper Assurance. Do it today. Jamie Maggio is joining us. Joy Taylor is gone. Not even sure where Joy is. She just flitted off to another part of the country, so it's great to have you in. So I like business. I like reading business books. I learn a lot. I don't know what I'm doing with business, but I'm fascinated by kind of the culture of business and why things work. And when you read a business book, business books will often give you examples of what to do and what not to do based on history. This company failed because of this, and this company succeeded because of this. And I love the examples. I often use those examples in this show because I think sports is business, and I often connect it to it. Just that's what I like to read a lot. And so when you watch something that succeeds, there's usually a process that you're duplicating. There's usually a path to success, and there's usually also a path to failure. You can look at, even for individuals, if you get pregnant in your teens, your poverty chances explode in America. So try to avoid that, right? There's paths to success and paths to failure. Here's what we know. In the NBA, it's a star-driven league. It's not a coach or a system-driven league. If you have LeBron, you win. If you have Kevin Durant, you win. If you have Steph Curry, you win. If you had Michael, Magic, Larry Bird, you win. If you had Wilt, Kareem, you win. Shaq, Kobe, all that stuff. But the NFL's different. The NFL's not about one guy. Even a great quarterback is muted if they have a bad offensive line and a terrible head coach. Even great coaches, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, have been fired when they couldn't get the quarterback right. It is a system. You have to memorize a playbook. You have a snap count. If one person moves a hand on the offensive line, no matter how good Aaron Rodgers is, tweet, penalty, back it up 5 yards. It's about a system. Here's something else we know about the NFL. It's not player-driven. It's personnel and community coach GM-driven. Quarterbacks are valuable, but again, they can't succeed with the wrong people around them. Cocky, outspoken is great in the NBA. LeBron can talk every day. It doesn't really work in the NFL because you might be saying something, but everybody in the locker room doesn't necessarily buy into it. And a couple years ago, I was very critical of the Seattle Seahawks. Like, if somebody's going to talk on that team, make it Russell Wilson, not cornerbacks and defensive ends and edge rushers. And they just got too cocky and too loud and too political and too outspoken. And what happened to the dynasty? Never heard Russell Wilson talk, and he was at work watching film. And I watched the Philadelphia Eagles, and listen, they got a great GM, Howie Roseman. Doug Peterson's on the show Friday. Obviously a sharp dude. Carson Wentz he's, to me, I was in love with Andrew Luck 5 years ago. He's the new guy. He's the new cat. He's Andrew Luck, but more athletic. And I mean, seriously, I think he's got a little better arm. But man, oh man, do they look like Seattle. Here's their coach, Doug Peterson, excerpt from his book, Fearless. Oh boy, won a Super Bowl, got to have a book. You know, it made me mad watching Jacksonville. They had New England right where they wanted them. I was screaming at the TV in my office when they knelt right before halftime. Inside, I was like, I'll never do that. I'll never do that. So he calls out Jacksonville. Now, he's writing a book. Anybody can take an excerpt from a book and blow it up. But the fact that a coach wins a Super Bowl, a couple years ago, he wasn't even calling plays in Kansas City, and now he's writing a book. Woo! His team's making a lot of noise. Lane Johnson, offensive lineman, suspended twice, PEDs, has doubled down, ripping the Patriots. They put billboards up in New England taunting the Patriots. Head coach, I wouldn't have done what Jacksonville did. Oh, boy. Folks, this is Seattle. Just look at the similarities between Philadelphia and Seattle. Both have an elite all-time quarterback talent. Carson Wentz, I know he doesn't have a lot of years. He's outrageously gifted. You don't even have to know football. Carson Wentz is filthy good. He is, I mean, again, let's just say next 7 years, he plays 14 games on average. That's a Hall of Famer. It's not hard to spot Hall of Famers. You can see real quick with Aaron Rodgers. That's a Hall of Famer. Deshaun Watson, you're like, oh, that doesn't look like everybody else. Russell Wilson, Steve Young. Seattle's got Russell Wilson. So both Philadelphia and Seattle have a kind of flashy star quarterback. Both, by the way, have top-line defenses. Have you seen the defenses for Seattle? Those are some Legion of Boom's all-time stuff. Philadelphia Eagles defense. It is loaded, especially in that front seven. It is loaded. Both Seattle and now Philadelphia have very expressive, outspoken cultures. The opposite, the antithesis of the Spurs, the Patriots, Alabama. Outspoken, politically engaged. Both fan bases are like maybe the most intense in the league. I mean, Philadelphia and Seattle. Seattle has a name, the 12th man. Philadelphia Eagle fans, didn't they build a jail at one point in the bottom of the stadium because people were getting in fights? Like, these are arguably the most intense fan bases in the league. Both, by the way, Seattle and Philly have been to 3 Super Bowls and have 1 win. And in both instances, they got books. They're doubling down, taking shots at teams with multiple Super Bowls. By the way, both Philly and Seattle added outspoken political Michael Bennett. By the way, both Philadelphia and Seattle lost key coordinators after the Super Bowl, like Dan Quinn for Seattle went to Atlanta. Oh, yeah, he's real good. Frank Reich is leaving Philadelphia, going to Andrew Luck. Gut feeling is, yeah, that's going to work out. Listen, man, success is great, but if you want to make it last, Alabama 10 years, New England 18 years, NFL's not the NBA. Loud guy, talky guy, billboards, taunting, legendary coach, quarterback guy. These Eagles, Seahawks, from quarterback to defense to culture to fan base to Super Bowl appearances, Bennett losing key coordinators. Now I got books. I got head coach got a book. Does Bill Belichick have a book? Does Andy Reid have a book? I mean, Tom Coughlin had a book. I think it was after like 25 years coaching, multiple Super Bowls, had a book. Jason Whitlock talked about this yesterday on Speak for Yourself.
I see a team that feels like they're on top of the world and they reinvented football and they are the end-all, be-all of football. And I just think teams like that oftentimes get humbled. I just tone it down a little bit, Philly. Win a second Super Bowl, then this will seem more justified.
Yes. Doug Peterson's on the show, Friday? I am going to scold him on a book. I'm going to say, come on. I need more than 2 years coaching in the NFL before I get a book out. He's buddies with Andy Reid, who's my all-time favorite guy. Jamie with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
All right, Colin. So first up, everybody, you either love or hate the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. And Tom Brady came out and spoke on WEEI in Boston, had a very interesting theory as to why you either love or hate them. Here's Tom.
All right.
Most Americans probably that live in other parts of the country, they don't like the Patriots. They don't like me, and I can understand that. I mean, I was a 49er fan at one point. They want to see their team win, and when they don't, I think they got to direct that frustration somewhere else. And when you've been successful like our team's been, frustration gets directed at us. I think it's a different part about, football, for example, in America. I mean, you never, if you look at a lot of other sports around the world, at some point, maybe, you get to represent your country. In America, we never get a chance to do that.
That's a really good point. Soccer players, basketball players at one point, the best ones, going to be on Team America. At one point, we all root for LeBron. We all rooted for Kobe, and we all rooted for Magic, and we all rooted for Bird. Same with our soccer stars. But in football, you never get that opportunity. So the people that you hate, there's never a moment you like them.
But if Tom Brady wore a Team USA jersey for one game, we'd all get behind him for that game. And then in the regular season, you'd go back to hating him unless you're a Patriots fan.
I also think, Jamie, like Duke basketball, the brand with the Patriots isn't as likable. I mean, just say it out loud. Supermodel, smarter than you, handsome, richer than you. That's like Duke basketball. By the way, Kansas is great in basketball and Kentucky are great in basketball. They're not polarizing. I never meet anybody that goes, God, I hate Kansas basketball. But Duke's brand is academic power, elite, no NCAA violations. New England's got that Duke brand where just the words of it, supermodel, handsome, smarter, that rubs people the wrong.
I'm going to go out on a limb, though, and disagree with Tom on this theory because look at Derek Jeter. Would you say that he's polarizing in that way? Love him or hate him? Dated all those, beautiful women in New York, successful, 5-time World Series champion. He played in the 2006 World Baseball Classic at starting shortstop, so he represented Team USA. People still hated him.
Do people hate Jeter?
I think they do. I think you either hate him or you want to be him. So you're a Long
Island girl. So your sense was in Long Island that you guys loved him and the world hated him.
Yeah.
See, my sense was people hated A-Rod.
Well, that's true too.
See, I felt A-Rod was wildly polarizing. But you know what? I saw Jeter play in Seattle once, and it was like people. I think you know what they respected about Jeter? How hard he played. Like 17 years into this. I don't know. I've always felt A-Rod was wildly polarizing. And A-Rod's handsome, and A-Rod's got the celebrity thing. It is interesting, but I don't think the Patriots are likable at all as a dynasty.
Well, we'll keep the Patriots in the conversation for this next story. We saw Des Bryant on Hard Knocks meeting with the Browns. He is still unsigned, and a fan was trying to recruit him on social media. So he responded with something that got the tongues wagging. Tom Brady has always been my favorite player. Real fact. So Des Bryant thinks that Tom Brady is his favorite player. Do you think that he'd be a good fit with the Patriots? I kind of do. I like it.
And it's interesting because it's their weakest unit on the roster. They're a mess. And to be honest with you, what they don't have is a big, occasionally vertical wide receiver. It's not remember this too, Jamie, the way it works in the NFL. If you wait until the season to sign him, then if you cut him, you own like 4 weeks. If you sign him today, you got to pay him for the season. It's not crazy to think that New England has said, you know what, week 1, if we sign him once the season starts, I don't think it's the craziest thing. It is absolutely right now, that team's liability is they don't have a receiver that stretches the field at all. Gronk's actually down the seam is their field stretcher.
And Bill Belichick can certainly handle a colorful personality. Finally, Colin, here for you, Baker Mayfield, showing us he has many talents. He did a hilarious impression of his GM there in Cleveland, John Dorsey. You got to see this.
Hello, this is John Dorsey. How you doing, buddy boy? Playing in the National Football League is a blessing. It's a privilege. Not many people get to do it. You know what I mean, buddy boy? Let's go stop. See, being a Cleveland Brown is way more than just playing football. It's about being an elf. It's about coming to work every day with your hard hat and your Air Dorseys and your sweater. And you strap on those shoes and you go to work.
What do you think of that there, buddy boy?
Well, I think Baker is a showman. I would prefer my backup quarterback take a little more under the radar, subtle preseason.
It's a little Bush League. Maybe he should.
It's not even that. It's just like, Baker, understand the room. You're the backup. You are the backup quarterback. I don't need underwear ads. I don't need your abs. You are currently the second best quarterback on the most dysfunctional team in sports. Scale it back a little. It's a bunch of look at me stuff. Look at my underwear. Look at my abs. Look at my impression. Look at my documentary. Look at my just dude. You know what I've seen from Tyrod Taylor, who's a better player? Nothing.
Yeah.
Just scale it down a little.
I know the underwear ad got you fired up yesterday, but could this demonstrate maybe a familiarity and comfort level between him and the GM?
I will say this about Baker. He's fascinating. He plays tomorrow night on Fox. I'll watch him. He's got very much a Michael Vick appeal to me. A lot of good quarterbacks. I've never once in my life said, God, Kirk Cousins is on. I like Phillip Rivers. Hey, Phillip Rivers is on. Michael Vick came into the league, and I was like, I got to watch that guy. Baker's got me sucked in. I don't like all this stuff, but he is fascinating, and this is why he's selling things. I don't think I'm alone in this. I can't wait to watch him play tomorrow. Jamie with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Oh, he's my guy, Mr. Information. He's one of those guys that calls GMs like John Dorsey, and they call him right back. To be Peter Schrager, be the Coward Global Satellite Network. No, lordy, Hard Knocks. You know what? We'll see. I want to talk about, there's a lot of talk about Josh Allen in Buffalo and Sam Darnold in New York and Baker Mayfield, and Lamar Jackson's not ready. But, we're talking about him. Is there a young quarterback interesting to you right now that people are talking about?
I feel like we're in late August and we're not even ready for what's about to hit us. Colin, I hate to hype this up like a summer blockbuster. The Patrick Mahomes era is about to begin, and we got just a taste last Friday night. It was like Man Walking on the Moon or the Beatles doing Ed Sullivan on my phone when he threw this pass. A 70-yard pass in the air in an NFL game. It hasn't been done since Aaron Rodgers threw a Hail Mary years ago. And, Colin, this is a long time coming. Mahomes is about to take the league by storm. I don't know if the Chiefs are better off with Patrick Mahomes, but I do know we are. All we hear about is NBA Twitter. This guy's about to blow up and explode on Twitter every Sunday because he is a freak. Remember, Alex Smith took this team to the playoffs 4 out of 5 years, and he did not leave as a free agent. The Kansas City Chiefs actively traded away Alex Smith because they felt they had a Ferrari in the garage that they were not using. This kid is going to take the league by storm this year. And, Colin, everyone I talk to in Kansas City is like one of those things where they're like quietly all right, we're not going to be the ones to say it, just wait. I remember being at the Combine back in February. They had just traded away Alex Smith. It wasn't official yet. And I had someone from the Chiefs organization show me a video on their phone of him throwing the ball in practice 80 yards in the air. So as much as we want to go goo-goo gaga over Baker Mayfield and talk about how fantastic it is to have Deshaun Watson, this is the guy that a franchise is really banking on. And, Colin, I'm telling you, because I know you love being on a stock early, get on the bandwagon now, because every week there's going to be a pass like this. And then he has a no-look pass last year in Week 17. Like a no-look pass across his body, Favre stuff. So I'm getting geeked up about it because I just feel like we're not talking about the Chiefs. And if anyone knows quarterbacks, it's Andy Reid. And Brett Veach, a young general manager, said, I'd rather have this young guy than a guy who took us to the playoffs 4 out of 5 years.
Yeah, Bruce, smart guy. Peter Schrager joining us. Okay, let's talk about it. It's interesting. We know in Buffalo, Josh Allen's probably going to start. And we know in Baltimore, Lamar's not ready. Flacco's going to start. We know most of this stuff. And we know that Bradford right now is better than Rosen, and that offensive line in Arizona is not good. They'd rather Bradford take a few pops early. Here's the interesting one, though. The Jets have an awful offensive line, and Teddy Bridgewater is absolutely viable on an open market. You can get stuff for Teddy Bridgewater. To me, he's a starter for about 8 teams in this league. So you're the Jets, Schrags, and you got Darnold. The schedule's pretty workable early, some winnable games. Do you play Teddy, win a couple, show him off, and trade him? This is what the Eagles did. Bradford got picks, moved up. What are they going to do in New York with Bridgewater and Darnold? Both, I think, good enough to play. Bridgewater, though, I think probably better today and certainly tradable.
Well, Colin, I'm pretty connected with those Jets guys, and they all say the same thing. What an embarrassment of riches, because it's not just Bridgewater who looks good, and it's not just Josh McCown's a viable starter in the NFL also. So they have 3 guys. I would be surprised if they traded Teddy Bridgewater. Here's the reason why. He's 25 years old. He's taken a team to the playoffs, and he's been the ultimate veteran. He has taken Darnold under his wing. So to trade him for a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick, that might make sense on paper, and people on fantasy football might say, oh, well, you trade him because he got Darnold. You said it earlier in the show. Darnold is 21 years old. He's the youngest quarterback in the NFL. What's the rush? Bridgewater is 25. McCown is 39. They're both viable starters. This is an embarrassment of riches, and I would not be shocked if Teddy Bridgewater got the nod. Even though everyone says Darnold's got the inside track, I know they love Teddy as well. And what he's overcome and what he has become in that locker room is a leader. So Teddy Bridgewater has a lot of supporters in that room, and that's nothing against Sam Darnold or Josh McCown. He just might be the best quarterback in that room right now.
By the way, I was told by an NFL player, a guy who's been to a Super Bowl over the weekend, that the Jets don't have a quarterback coach. Only 3 teams don't, because this player said that is the best quarterback room right now in the league. That Josh McCown is seen by NFL coaches as the next potential player who becomes a coach. So they love
Colin,
McCown.
Last year, He was done with the Browns. He was looking for a team. The Cleveland Browns offered Josh McCown at 38 years old, still an active player in the league, their quarterback's job. He said, no, I still want to play. Goes on to play for the Jets and then gets the biggest contract of his career, a $10 million one-year deal. But he was offered the Browns quarterback's coach last year as a coach, and now he's with the Jets. And Jeremy Bates is the offensive coordinator. You're right. In that room, though, it's McCown's room.
Schrags, interesting year for Dak Prescott. So I can break it down in two ways. I can say he's won 22 games in 2 years. Only the Steelers and Patriots have won more. Or there's also this narrative that's like, yeah, but you know, when Tyron Smith got hurt and Zeke was out, he's not the same guy. Jason Witten's gone. Is everybody, and sold is the wrong word, Schrags, but I think it's a pivotal year for Dak. That there are still people in that room that are not 100% sure. Am I wrong on that?
Well, look, 2016, he was the face of the league. They were the #1 seed in the NFC, and if Rodgers doesn't hit Cook on that incredible pass, maybe the Cowboys win the Super Bowl. But last year did not go great. They went 9-7, but it didn't feel like 9-7. Here's why it's so fascinating. Goff and Wentz, same draft class, are first-round picks. So their teams have a fifth-year option on those guys. That means they could be locked up for 5 years, and they're entering their third year. Dak Prescott went on day 3, a fourth-round pick. So what does that mean? It means that he only has a 4-year contract, and he can start negotiating at the end of this season. So a contract is looming for Dak. It feels like we just got to know him, but we're already at contract extension talk time. And if he comes in without Dez and without Witten and with that questionable defense, and he lights it up, and the Cowboys are America's team, and we see him on Thanksgiving winning, he's going to be the guy for a generation for Cowboys fans. He is the Aikman, he is the Staubach, he is the Romo. But if he is not great and they take a big step back, don't expect them to back up the Brinks trucks just because he was good 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating year for Dak because his contract already is an issue, and it's going to come up at the end of the season.
Eagles coach Doug Peterson's on my show Friday. When he came into this league, I said, I don't know. He didn't even call plays with Andy Reid, and I was wrong. I mean, he was. I thought his Super Bowl coaching was unbelievable. Aggressive. One of the rare times I thought Belichick in New England got outsmarted, and that doesn't happen very often. But, God, he's writing a book now. He's taking a shot at the Jags now, and I'm like, ay. Philadelphia feels like Seattle to me. Lot of talk, lot of noise. Right or wrong? Do you feel it too?
And they added Michael Bennett. They added Mike Wallace.
Yes.
They added some guys. It's not going away. They also get back Jason Peters and Jordan Hicks and Darren Sproles. They believe they're on top of the world, and I'm okay with that. The best response, though, was Doug Marone's, and no one really picked it up in the media because no one does 1 second of research. But he said, I read a good book this summer, too. It was by a guy named Mark Manson. Google it. I Googled it. The book is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep. So I think Doug Marone had the ultimate comeback on that one. And if you know the Jaguars, they don't give a bleep.
Schrags, look at Schrag. You look so happy. And
feel good.
Full
football, baby.
You look so handsome and happy and full-faced in New York, and that show's doing you well. By the way, he's on our Sunday show on Fox, NFL Kickoff. He's going to be here for most of the season on the show on Sundays. Great seeing you, buddy.
Can't wait. I love coming on, Colin. Thanks so much.
All right, Peter Schrager. I get such great feedback on Schrags. He's so connected. Coming up next, I'm going to make you money. I'm just going to give people money.
Start taking notes.
You know, Goulet's asking for money all the time. I'm just going to give you some. Coming up next with a football bet. Everybody knows Untuck It shirts. They replace the sloppy mock look of an untucked dress shirt. I'm wearing an untucked shirt today. Yeah, that's because this company's been around now for a few years, and it's working. 25 retail outlets. They fit perfectly. Tall, short, wide, thin. It doesn't matter. The Untuck It designers have mastered the proportions that determine how your shirt falls. All you got to do is go to untuckit.com and put in the code HERD. H-E-R-D. That'll get you pretty big savings, 20% off your purchase. Again, they have 25 retail locations, Chicago, New York, L.A. Go to untuckit.com, code HERD. Regardless of shape and size. Unslop yourself, unsmock yourself, untuck yourself. Promo code, again, HERD, H-E-R-D, for 20% savings. Don't think Untuck It shirts are just for guys that come out of a magazine. I wear it. There's